6-2, 6-0 in Indian Wells. Then 6-2, 6-4 in Berlin. There's one player on tour Alex Eala simply hasn't figured out yet. In the next few minutes, I'll break down exactly who that player is, why their potential matchup in Cincinnati matters more than any other part of Eala's projected draw, and what she may need to change to finally get past her. But there's one specific detail from their last meeting that I believe explains exactly where this rivalry stands right now. I'll get to that in a moment. Let's start with the bigger picture, because Eala's draw in Cincinnati has already been laid out, and most of the conversation has focused on the wrong part of the story. Eala enters the tournament as the number 17 seed, which gives her a first-round bye. In the second round, she could face either Magda Linette or Elena-Gabriela Ruse. If she gets through that match, she would likely face Amanda Anisimova in the third round. That would be a genuinely difficult test, especially because Eala and Anisimova have never faced each other on tour. That adds an extra layer of unpredictability to the potential matchup. But here's where I believe the real story of this draw begins. If Eala manages to get through both of those rounds, her likely fourth-round opponent could be Linda Noskova, the recent Wimbledon champion. And this is the matchup that deserves far more attention than anything projected beyond it. You'll often see tournament draws projected all the way to a hypothetical final, with names like Pegula, Rybakina, and Sabalenka appearing in the later rounds. Realistically, those projections are more of a mathematical exercise than a genuine storyline. Nobody expects a player to defeat 3 consecutive top 3 opponents in a single tournament. That's simply not how tennis usually plays out. So instead of focusing on a fantasy finish that almost certainly won't happen exactly as projected, I want to focus on the matchup that is both realistic and genuinely meaningful. That matchup is Linda Noskova. Here's why it matters so much. Noskova has already beaten Eala twice this year, and neither victory was particularly close. At the Indian Wells Open, Noskova defeated Eala 6-2, 6-0 in the round of 16. Read that scoreline again. A 6-0 second set against a player who has since climbed into the world's top 20. Then, just months later at the Berlin Tennis Championships, Noskova defeated Eala again in the semifinals, 6-2, 6-4. That match was closer, but it was still a clear and decisive victory. 2 matches. 0 sets won by Eala. This is not a rivalry defined by a few unlucky points or narrow margins. It is a genuine stylistic problem that Eala has not solved yet. And it is exactly the kind of pattern that should concern her team heading into any tournament where Noskova is a realistic possibility in the draw. Because the specific shape of those 2 losses tells us something important about what has been going wrong. At Indian Wells, Noskova didn't just win. She completely dismantled Eala in the second set after a competitive opening set. That 6-0 collapse suggests that something changed, either mentally or physically, once Noskova found her rhythm. Eala simply did not have an answer to adjust and regain control. That was similar to what we recently saw when Eala lost to Belinda Bencic in Toronto, a competitive start, followed by a major second-set collapse once the opponent settled into her game. Then, in Berlin, the result was closer. Eala lost the second set, 6-4, rather than 6-0. That could suggest some improvement in how she handled the matchup. But it was still a straightforward loss. 2 different tournaments. 2 different surfaces. And Noskova found a way to win comfortably both times. Here's what I believe this pattern reveals. Noskova is a recent Wimbledon champion for a reason. She is an aggressive and powerful ball striker who thrives on taking time away from her opponents. Eala's game relies on finding her rhythm and dictating rallies from the baseline. A player like Noskova, who can finish points quickly and refuse to allow long exchanges, creates a genuinely difficult stylistic matchup for Eala, regardless of ranking or recent form. This is not about Eala lacking talent or big match composure. It is about a specific style of aggressive, first-strike tennis that she simply hasn't cracked yet. And that is actually useful information heading into Cincinnati, because it gives us a clear question to watch for instead of an abstract hope that Eala will simply play well enough to win. The real question is whether Eala and her team have identified specific tactical adjustments to counter Noskova's game. Assuming they meet again in the fourth round, Cincinnati presents a meaningful opportunity to finally answer that question. Eala did not compete in this event last year, which means she is defending 0 ranking points here. That is a significant advantage. Every match she wins in Cincinnati would give her pure ranking upside, with no pressure to protect points from a previous result. Combine that with the fact that she is currently at a career-high ranking of number 20 in the world, and there is a real opportunity for Eala to push toward the top 16 before the US Open begins. A top 16 ranking would give her a significantly better seeding at the year's final Grand Slam, potentially improving her chances of making a deep run in New York. But that ranking opportunity could run directly through a potential fourth-round showdown with the one player who has already beaten her twice this year. If Eala wants to maximize this opportunity, getting past Noskova could be the single biggest obstacle between her current ranking and a major jump heading into the US Open. So, what would Eala need to do to finally solve this matchup? Based on the pattern from their 2 previous meetings, I believe the key is disrupting Noskova's rhythm early, before she settles into her aggressive, first-strike tennis. That could mean using more variation in pace, adding more slice to break up Noskova's timing, or taking a more aggressive return position to limit her easy first-strike opportunities. Whatever the adjustment is, something clearly needs to change tactically. Doing the same thing for a third time against a player who has already beaten you twice is unlikely to produce a different result. At the same time, there is real value in having faced Noskova twice already this season, even in defeat. Repeated exposure to a specific opponent's style can help a player understand exactly what needs to change the next time around. Eala has now seen Noskova's game up close in 2 completely different tournaments and on 2 different surfaces. That experience, even though it came through losses, is still valuable information heading into a potential third meeting. Of course, all of this assumes that both players reached the fourth round in the first place, and that is far from guaranteed. Eala still has to get past Linette or Ruse, followed by a likely third-round match against Anisimova, a 2-time Grand Slam finalist whom she has never faced before. Noskova also has her own draw to navigate. But if both players advance as projected, this fourth-round matchup would be the most important and answerable storyline in Eala's entire Cincinnati campaign. It would be far more relevant than any hypothetical run through the top 3 seeds later in the tournament. Tennis IQ will be tracking this potential matchup closely as the draw unfolds. Because whether Eala can finally solve the Noskova puzzle will tell us a lot about her readiness heading into the US Open, regardless of how far she ultimately goes in Cincinnati. If you want that breakdown the moment this matchup becomes official, make sure you're subscribed. This is the real story hiding inside Alex Eala's Cincinnati draw. Now, here's my question for you. Do you think Eala finally beats Noskova if they meet again in Cincinnati, or will this stylistic problem continue to follow her? Drop your prediction in the comments. I want to know what this community genuinely believes heading into the tournament.